Night live stream. What's going on, Brian?
Not too much, Kevin. It's good to be alive.
Exactly. I mean, with all the things going on, all the trials and tribulations, you can't complain if you're making it. You got somewhere to stay and something to eat.
That's what I'm saying. You got an apartment, check. You got a car, check. There's like we're like we've talked about over the past couple months, couple weeks. You got people living out of their cars, pulling up to Walmart, blacking out all the windows to get some sleep. Like people are really going through it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but like you would have never thought that America would come to this point where people have to live in their cars when they have a job. I can understand, like, okay, I can't find a job. I've ruined my
Right.
background, and nobody's hiring me. But people with jobs are living in their car, and that's
Yeah,
insane.
because like I'm in Long Island and rent here for a one bedroom is like 2,200, 2,300, 2,500. Your studio is probably closer to 2K. So like even if you have a decent job, that's still a lot of money in rent every month. So I can understand why maybe someone making 50K a year, they're living out of their car because otherwise they'd have no money. All the money would go to rent. They'd have no money left over for food or for anything else.
I mean, what's so crazy? I sent you a video, and it's people who are like, like 70s or whatever, and they bought their house in the 70s, 80s. They're paying like 16,000 for a house, 17,000. Okay, let's just say you get a studio for 2,000. You would pay off that house in just 10 months. Obviously, our wages inflate a little bit, but the rate of inflation is so crazy that you know you have to make six figures for the next 30 years to be able to like pay off a basic shack.
Pretty much. Yeah. We're in, what do they call it? Dire straits. We're in like really tough time right now. And like we said, you got people that have jobs that can't afford an apartment. I know that's a situation here in New York. It's a situation in California. I'm sure it's a situation in Texas as well. What's it like down there in general?
I mean, yeah, it can get pretty expensive. It's not like California or New York expensive, but like with so many people moving here, the prices are going up, and you know, you do see homeless. And the thing about here is like it's been like 105 degrees every day for the past, you know, almost like month. So
Oh, wow.
I feel sorry for people who are, at least in California, you have to
It's like
be,
75
yeah.
degrees, 80 degrees. You got the sea breeze.
So, like sleeping outside is not ideal, but it's like manageable. Okay. It doesn't feel that bad outside. But here, like you're literally cooking outside.
Damn. Wow. Yeah, that's rough.
And what's the other issue is in like the government is not really responding to crises like they used to.
Well, yeah, because I was reading, you don't think the solar eclipse made the weather worse? Definitely possible.
Yeah,
I was just going to
possibility.
say, people have been coming around. Mine's asking if I want solar panels. Yeah, I
That
mean,
would be
I'm
ideal.
I'm all for solar panels. My mom just moved to Jersey, but her house in New York, she has solar panels, and they were saving a ton of money every month. So it's definitely worth it. But I just want aggressive dom top daddies. Not sure what that means.
But yeah, man, like with the price of electricity shooting through the roof, if you could have like an off-grid setup with solar panels, and you don't have to. I mean, obviously, you probably have to connect in some form of fashion, but if you kind of limited how much you depend on the main grid, that would be ideal.
Yeah, what I was gonna say, I was watching the news this week, and they're talking about Indiana. I guess they got hit with a really bad storm. Tons of trees went down. Um, oh, their brand of solar panels. Yeah, just like tons of trees went down. Power lines are down. People have been without power for, I think,
Almost 2 weeks.
7 days, 10 days, yeah, maybe even almost 2 weeks. And they were interviewing someone, just a resident, and they're like, where's the help? Where's the assistance? We pay every month electricity. Why is this not being taken care of? It's almost like it reminds me of back in the day when there was that terrible what was it called? Hurricane Katrina. When that hit Louisiana, they felt like, okay, George Bush is not helping us out. No one's helping us out. So I feel like that's kind of what's happening in Indiana right now. Like, maybe the area isn't, the wealthiest, so they're just kind of taking their time to get the power back up and running. But meanwhile, I mean, you might have people like diabetics who have insulin that they need to keep refrigerated, or
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what that looks like. I don't have diabetes, thank God, but I think some people, their medication has to be refrigerated. If you got no power, then I imagine it goes bad.
I
So
mean, you don't have food either because you start spoiling.
yeah, you got to throw out all your perishables, and then you're left with like Progresso chicken soup,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
Rice.
baked beans, black beans, lentils.
Yeah, Escanor made a good point. Like, all of this stuff came out in these files and nobody gets arrested or something like this happened. There's no response, nothing happens. It's like, what's the point of the
It's
government?
Yeah, I mean, it's like these people are saying, like, no one's helping us out here. We pay our electricity bill every month. They're taking their time. There's all these down trees. Like, send in help from other companies, maybe. Get the government to get like a special task force up and running to get these people power. Because, like I'm saying, if you got medication that needs to be refrigerated, I don't know what you'd be doing right now. You might have to get your medication changed, or so it's bad situation, Cov.
It kind of goes into the last live stream that we talked about. You're gonna have to link up with the community. Everybody has to have different skills. You're gonna have to start working together. Everybody can't just be in their own mini castles now, just wasting life on a tablet. Now it's like, okay, the government is not coming to help us. How can we work together and get things back to, civilization? Like
Yeah, like back in the day, my dad owned his own business. He was self-employed. He was a part of something called the barter network. So I think things like that, like I had braces as a kid, and he paid for the braces with barter. So he used to do carpet and window cleaning. So he did someone's windows in trade for my braces. So I think,
Yeah.
we're going to probably start to move, like, back in that direction, because people have skill sets. They have a need for certain supplies, certain activities they need, responsibilities. So, the person that's a carpenter, okay, they have this one skill. So, and then a person over here, they're growing strawberries. So the carpenter goes to the person with the strawberries, like, okay, let's make a deal here. I need food. I'll build you a deck. I'll build you a shed, whatever.
Have we heard about Little St. James Island? Nope, haven't heard about it, but I mean, with all the islands, I can only imagine what goes on there.
Yeah, is that like Epstein?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Like, what was that movie? I forget the name of it, where they're like creating monsters on the island. It was like a horror movie.
Um, was that Island of Dr. Moreau?
Or something like that.
Something like that?
Yeah, it seems like
From the 90s?
people do things on these islands. Can you imagine, like, there's nobody else around? So, you
Yeah,
know,
there's no police, there's no politicians, there's no one I mean, that was a situation with Epstein's Island. He would bring all these girls down there, and they would feel trapped, or they'd even talk about, they'd try to run away and he would just go and find them. So it's really an awful scenario. Some of the things that are probably going on still on islands, all over the place. Cause I don't think Epstein was a lone wolf,
So yeah,
lone, like a lone gunman. I don't think Epstein acted alone. I think he had a sophisticated network behind him. And there's probably other billionaires or multimillionaires that have basically taken his place.
yeah, exactly. Let's just say that society did collapse around you. Let's say you were in Gary, Indiana. How do you think? What would your plan of survival be? What is the most important thing to secure first and foremost?
I mean, like I was saying before, if I had diabetes and I needed medication that needs to be refrigerated, I'd probably try to figure out, somewhere to go where I'd have access to electricity and refrigeration, because that could be a major problem. There are people that rely on medicines that have to be kept in a refrigerator. So that's really the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, okay, if I got these meds that need to be in the fridge, well, let me go try to find some place where I can actually store them. And I'm not exactly sure where that would be, but you'd want to get on that ASAP, because if you're diabetic and you're not taking your medicine, that's going to be a bad situation pretty fast.
Or let's just say you can't find any place with electricity. What do you think you would do in that instance? And let's just say you have one full tank of gas.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if there was family in the vicinity, I would go hit them up. I would go stay with family. Maybe they have power at their location, but people that have no power, that have no living family, no friends nearby, I really don't know what they're doing. I believe in Indiana, the government is giving out, I think, one meal a day to people that have been affected. So, because you can't refrigerate any food. So, they're going and getting one meal a day. But, where they tell us we're supposed to eat 3 meals a day. So you only got one meal a day. You're probably sitting there hungry still.
You could probably, I don't believe they can only give them one meal a day. You can get MREs in, it's not the best tasting, but you can bring enough of those in to feed people, at least two or, three.
Yeah, I think the government response, it's similar to Hurricane Katrina. There were people stuck in their houses, on their roofs. I remember watching a documentary about it a little while ago. You had people on their roofs for days waiting to get picked up, help never arriving, you know, older people in very bad situations. Maybe they're not very mobile. Now they're on a roof, so it's, the whole Indiana thing with the power going out. It kind of reminds me of Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, so I think, okay, let's just say one, you're gonna have to secure some food and water. Two, shelter of some sort. Because I think, when it really boils down to it, humans, we need a lot less than we think. You just need shelter, food, and water. And, obviously, if you have some kind of sickness, you're gonna need the medicine. So you're probably gonna have to find a way to keep the medicine cool. Like how to do that, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, like, go get a ton of ice, I guess. Get ice and coolers and just keep swapping out the ice, as it melts. But I feel like that's not really a long-term solution. Maybe that will help for the day. But if you got medication that needs to be refrigerated daily, I don't know if you would go to a hospital, or I'm not really sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I was in that situation, I'd probably go to my nearest hospital and just say, "Hey, look, the power's out. I got this medicine that needs to be refrigerated. Help me out," basically, and just see what they say.
I think, okay, let's just say you have a Walmart close by. If the power is completely out, you need to survive. So I would probably get like a thermos or cooler, something that kind of retains the temperature for a while. Obviously the ice is eventually going to melt, but it's going to be cooler inside of the thermoses or whatever that the mini freezers. You know what I mean? Like not the ones you plug in, but the coolers. It's basically cooler. Throw some ice in there if you can
Yeah.
find it. Put your medicine in there, and then open it up as minimal as possible. Like, okay, I need to take this once a day. That's the only time I open it.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. I mean, talking about Walmart, it brings me back to when I used to travel around in bands and, we'd have some time to kill or, a day off or whatever. So I remember we just pull up to the Walmart parking lot, post up, get the grill out, start making hot dogs, start talking to locals. They're like, "Oh, you guys in a band?" We're like, "Yeah, we're here from Connecticut." uh Pretty wild times, but I feel like, like we're saying, barter. I think the barter network and things like that are going to come back in vogue because, people can't get jobs. They have skills, but they can't get hired nowhere. So, at some point you're going to have to trade, that carpenter is going to build a deck for some raspberries, some blueberries. People are going to start to trade services and goods like they used to. I truly believe. I don't know how soon, but I think we're going to see it.
So yeah, like at the power went out, like Gary, Indiana, we talked about how to get, maybe preserving medicine. Obviously, the Walmart's are gonna have a bunch of water bottles, water jugs of water, and let's see. Now, if you want to get some food, you're gonna have to, get a grill out of there, some charcoal. You can use that to heat your food, or it's so hot outside, you could probably just cook it on a stone surface. It might take a while.
Yeah, yeah. At least if you're in Texas, that's probably an option.
Like, what do you think about like quote unquote looting when the power's been out for like 2 or 3 weeks? Like, is that acceptable to you or not really?
I understand it. You look back at Hurricane Katrina, and pretty sure there was looting. I mean, there was so much flooding, but I think in some areas, places did get broken into. But how could you really blame these people? They
Right.
need medical supplies, they need food. No one's coming to save them, no one's coming to help them. So they feel like, well, this is my only option to go and steal a bunch of stuff. So I feel like, yeah, if it's a Hurricane Katrina, if it's a situation right now like Indiana, I understand why people would start stealing stuff.
I think
I don't know what I would do given the situation. Like if I was in their shoes, I don't know if I would steal. I mean, if I absolutely had no food, then I would probably steal some food just to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, if the government fails to do their duties and it's just a survival, like, okay, the power's out for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we don't have any gas to go anywhere, we have to survive, then you have to make do with what's there. Like, okay, the kind of looting I'm against is the power goes out, you're taking TVs, you're taking Jordans, you're taking like luxury goods, but like if
Yeah.
everybody around you is just trying to survive, then there's not. I don't see anything wrong with, okay, let's get the water here. Let's take this grill and cook something up for everybody. Like,
Right. Let's go get a bunch of hot dogs. Let's
yeah,
go get some charcoal. Okay. Like I said, being in bands when I was younger, we just post up at a Walmart, start cooking hot dogs, and people will come over, chat us up, and they were like, "Oh, can I get one?" We're like, "Hey, yeah, sure. We got plenty of hot dogs." So, maybe situations like that, you just go to Walmart and you start networking and just working with people that are in the same situation as you. Because if one thing I will say about this nation is that our people are resilient. Our people have willpower. You know, at the end of the day, an American will not be denied. We will go the extra mile to make sure that we're good. And I don't know that every country's like that, but I know there's a lot of integrity in this country, and there's a lot of gusto, there's a
Mm,
lot of mojo, there's a lot of
I mean,
just
maybe in the
people
past, I
having
don't know
that go
about
get
this.
them, attitude.
Yeah, maybe in the past. Now I don't know about this current generation. Like we've been living in luxury so long that once all of the things that we take for granted is gone, it's like, do people really have the survival skills? I think we really need to start training on that, train on it
So
before it happens.
what you're talking about, say, Gen Z?
I mean,
Say,
even the baby boomers, like if you threw them in the middle of a forest, are they gonna survive?
oh, probably not.
Yeah, is that like
Probably not. Remember that show with that guy with what's it called, Bear Grylls, that
yeah,
would go
exactly.
out into the nature and survive, do all this crazy stuff to survive.
Like before Americans, okay, we went through like World War II and World War I, Great Depression, all of these like really trying times, but we've been in an era of prosperity. Everybody just kind of used to living well, and just being able to have like water that comes on when you turn on the faucet, like that's gone. Heat's gone, or AC is gone. Everything is gone. No TVs, no internet. Like I don't know how most people are gonna react. Like most people are indoors on tablets now. They're not outdoors exploring the nature, being rugged. So it's different.
Well, yeah, I mean that's another thing about Indiana right now. Okay, you have power out for an entire week, 2 weeks. Even if you do have laptops, computers, tablets, phones, if you don't have a generator, you have no way to power these devices. So all you have is the battery life that you had previously charged it, and you could use that up. But once that's up, what are you going to do to entertain yourself? It's like, back in the day when people used to sit around a campfire and tell stories, because there's no TV, there's no radio, and you gotta find ways to entertain yourself. So yeah, I think if I was in Indiana right now, I would post up at a Walmart and just start networking with people, and getting to know my neighbors, and just try to, like, help each other out, help each other survive, because it don't seem like the government there is really doing that much, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, I think we should start doing that ahead of time before, because I don't think that's going to be an isolated incident. Like that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to have more of these power outages. PC Aviator says this is a normal cycle. It's going to occur a lot more frequently, and let's just say we go months without having power. Like how are we going to survive? What are you going to do to even protect yourself? Because okay, after a while, people become rabid when they don't have food, they don't have water. How are you going to protect? And you have it, they're going to come and take it. So
That's the thing. People, if you're starving, you're pretty close to getting violent, potentially, because we have this human instinct of, okay, I must survive, I must survive. So you know a person pushed to the limit might do some crazy stuff. I've never been in a situation like that, like in Indiana or Hurricane Katrina, so I can't really speak to it, but I could definitely see why a lot of people start looting stores and stealing supplies, because what are you supposed to do? You got no government assistance, you got no one helping you, no one coming to save you. Yeah, at that point you got to save yourself. It's all, at that point it's about being selfish. You got to be selfish and just make sure that you're good at the end of the day.
I mean, like I think the more you think about this, the more you plan, the more you're prepared for it, the you're gonna have a less likelihood of it turning into Mad Max. But if everybody's just thrust into chaos and they don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have the bare essentials, and a lot of people are electronic addicts, they don't have that entertainment to occupy their mind, and they have this harsh reality. They're gonna go wild. They're gonna go nuts. So it's
Yeah.
like we got to think about this right now, make a plan right now, prepare right now.
make a plan. Yeah, I mean, what would you do if you knew that, okay, Texas is going to have a complete blackout, no electricity for 4 weeks? What would be the first thing you would do
So if I knew it was coming,
if
I
you
would,
knew it was coming? Yeah.
yeah. And if anybody in the audience, y'all want to chime in, we want to hear y'all ideas too. But for me, I think one, you have to identify. A lot of different people know what their skill sets are. Okay, this guy is an electrician. This guy knows how to, build. He's a carpenter. He knows how to
Carpenter.
build things. So once you're able to identify everybody skill sets, then you have to kind of find out a way to communicate. How are we going to get in touch with each other when there's no power?
Right. You got to kind of like you designate, okay, you're a doctor. Okay, you're going to be the main doctor for this group of people, and like you're saying, okay, you got a carpenter, you got an electrician, you got all these people with these skills that are very valuable. Put them to work basically, get people working for each other, helping each other out. And that's going to work way better than, oh, just me and mine, like me and my family. That's all I'm worried about. If you have that mentality, I don't think you'll last too long, because we do need people's help. We do need
Yeah,
to reciprocate and go back and forth and help each other out, because that's just in our humanity to do that, right?
exactly. So one also, okay, we need to create basic power infrastructure. So like create something with solar panels. Okay, if the like typical sources of electricity go out, we have something that can give us power, and then okay, we can use that to maybe power walkie talkies or something, so we can communicate with each other, right? Like recharge batteries and you put that in walkie talkies or something. And then one, we're gonna have to locate sources of water, natural sources of water. And then two is, somebody knows how to hunt, we're gonna have to learn from them, like learn how to get your own food.
Learn how to fish,
Yep.
learn how to skin an animal, need be. I mean, these are definitely, well, especially in the South, you have a strong culture of hunting in the South. So
Yep.
I feel like you guys would, if all the power goes out across the country, I feel like the South would do a little bit better because they already know how to hunt. They know how to, you know,
Fish.
take out a rabbit or a
Right.
deer, and then like, you know, fry it up, cook it up on a fire, or however you're going to prepare it. There's people, they call themselves survivalists, and
Right.
they know how to do all this stuff. So that's what I would do. I would try to get with the survivalists, get a big group of people that can all help each other. Okay, we
Yeah.
got solar panels hooked up to generators. We got generators hooked up to the phones and the tablets, so people still have their electronic devices. That would definitely be key. Then, like you said, hunting. If there's not enough food to go around, you're gonna have to hunt. You're gonna have to take out some deer or
Yeah.
some chicken, or whatever. I mean, really, whatever's available, whatever's local. You're gonna need to have your hunters, jump into action.
Probably say get like buy a crossbow or something like that, because you can reuse the arrows, as long as it doesn't get too damaged. Whereas like with a bullet, you shoot, you have a firearm, you let it off, the bullet's gonna be lodged into the thing. You can't really reuse that way. With arrows, you can, and it doesn't make as much sound. So
Right.
so you got to have means to protect yourself and means to hunt, power source, water source. And I think, as somebody who has the carpentry skills to teach others, and, you probably have to get some axes, cut down some trees, and build some basic shelter. And, hopefully you can survive until, maybe the government eventually does come a month or two later.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think is going through these people's minds right now in Indiana? Like, okay, it's been close to 2 weeks, power's still not on. They're not telling us a definite date when it's going to be fixed. What would you be thinking?
I mean, like, well, I would be thinking, like, let me find a way to get out of here. Like, 'cause you know what I'm saying? The power isn't out in the whole state, so if you could get
Yeah.
far enough away to where there's power, that would be like the
Yeah, I mean
ideal.
that's kind of the first thing when we were talking about it before. It's the first thing I mentioned. Like, if I have family in the vicinity in the general area, okay, go over there. Maybe they have power, or in the same situation where, someone's diabetic and they got medicine, insulin, whatever that needs to be refrigerated. Okay, go to your family's house and put that in their fridge and you'll be okay for now at least.
I mean, it makes me think, like, with all these electric cars, like, if you can't get electricity, that is just a paperweight. So, at least with gas cars, it's not dependent on the power grid. You put some gas in, you go somewhere. So,
Yeah, what do you think it would take to push this country into a Mad Max kind of scenario where it's anarchy and the crowd rules over the individual?
yeah, you just have to eliminate the access to basic needs. Like, people go long enough without power, without food, you know, without water, then that's when things start. Kind of like you've seen a touch of it during Hurricane Katrina, but a lot of them had places to go. Like, okay, a lot of them left New Orleans, they went to Houston or Dallas or some surrounding
Right.
place. But if it's like that everywhere, then eventually you're gonna have somebody says, okay, there's limited resources. I have the weapons. I have the might. I'm gonna take this for myself. Unless there's
Yeah.
a plan in place, unless like people prepare. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I don't know. I don't think people are really, giving this the proper attention because if this could happen in a state like Indiana, it's almost like saying, well, okay, the US is now a third world country. Some kind of basic service like electricity goes out. You can't rely on the government to fix it within a reasonable amount of time. So yeah, I would really stay close with family, whether they be local or states away. I would just try to stay connected to my network, people that I know, and just try to probably start, using a barter system where, okay, I'm a drummer, so I guess I could give drum lessons for like chicken or something like that. In a Mad Max scenario, I don't know who wants to learn the drums, but if they did, I would be useful.
Yeah, I think Mad Max scenario, things start evolving. Right now, to prepare for that, you need, okay, let's just say you live in a state where you can't own quote unquote firearms, but you could probably buy a crossbow, or you could buy, like a hunting knife. You can have things to protect yourself. Have some mace. Have just things that you can hunt with. You protect your family with, and then start. Yeah, you just start reaching out to your community, learn what skills people have, and you have to start communicating with each other ahead of time. Like, hey, if things go down, man, how can I reach you?
Yeah, and it makes me think you're in the South there. In the South, you got, whole militias. You have huge amounts of people that are kind of survival. Maybe they label themselves as a survivalist. They got tons of guns, ammunition, grenades, C4. They got all this stuff. They're ready for if the world turns into anarchy like Mad Max. So I would say if I was anywhere near these militias, I would get friendly with them because ultimately they're going to have the power. If they're the ones with the guns, there, and there's no police, there's no government helping anyone, it's going to turn into a, anarchy type of situation. So I would try to buddy up with the people that are survivalists, that do have guns, that own and operate guns, know how to use them, know how to hunt, know how to protect yourself and your family and your community, things like that.
Exactly. Um, so, like, yeah, you have to be around people who are in the know. You don't want to be around violent, crazy people, but you have to be around sensible people who are prepared. I think that's the number one thing. And, we've been talking about all of these things on the show. People probably thought it was crazy at the time, but you're seeing more and more of it come to fruition. People can't find jobs. You have guys with 20 years of experience in the tech industry. Now they're driving a school bus or they're living in their car in a Walmart parking lot. And like that would be unheard of before. Somebody be like, oh, that's you're talking madness. That would never happen in America. But now you're seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go and I don't go on here anymore, the LinkedIn feed is a bloodbath. It's, full of people with GoFundMe's. Oh, I've been out of work for 2 years. Can't find anything. I'm about to lose my house, about to lose my car. You
Yeah,
know, the LinkedIn, the LinkedIn feed is brutal. So, I mean, I do LinkedIn for networking for a lot of the bookings on this show. So I am on there, but honestly, I avoid the feed these days because it's just really depressing to
yeah,
see, everyone really going through it. Like you said, someone with 10, 20 years IT experience can't get hired anywhere, ageism. And like in tech, I know ageism is a big part of the pie.
yeah. Like getting on LinkedIn used to be fun. Like there's a lot of people having like interest, sharing their ideas, and they were hopeful. Now it's
There
open
was
to work,
hope.
open to work,
Yeah.
open to work. Yeah,
Yeah, there used to be hope. Now it's like dread and fear and nothing good. Like I said, I don't even, I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm not looking at my feed. I don't want to make my day bad just from seeing
yeah,
some terrible situation someone's in. It's like I can't do anything about it. So why am I going to feed myself that information, right? That
yeah.
kind of media.
That's what kind of sucks is like you see people going through, you want to help them, but it's like I'm not a CEO that can hand out jobs, so it's just like,
It's
yeah,
like, what
well,
can you do? Yeah. What
yeah,
can you really do? You want your brother to be able to work. You want your brother to be able to eat. But if you're not a CEO, if you don't own a company that is hiring, how are you actually going to help little Jimmy or little Bobby? How are you going to help them out? You really can't. I mean, you could support them, you could encourage them just socially and try to lift up their morale, but other than that, you really can't do too much for them. So
yeah.
that's why like I'm saying, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn a lot, but I don't even look at the feed anymore. I don't want to upset myself.
I think that's what's so tough is that you know people, let's just say they grow up in a poorer country, they're used to not having, they're used to knowing how to survive, but us, we grew up in like an era of unparalleled luxury. Now once that's all gone and that's what we're used to, especially if you're like in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and now you have to live like someone from a quote unquote third world country. I don't know how many people can handle that.
I don't think too many people can handle it. Yeah, like you said, we've kind of been pampered in the society. We've had wealth, we've had income skyrocket for years and years and years. And now, okay, now we're 40 trillion in debt. Okay, now you got stuff happening like Indiana, power goes out, no one's there to fix it. What's going on? When are they going to get my power back? So I think these are just almost like tests. These are little warnings for us to say, hey, maybe we should think about getting a backup generator for if all the power goes out. Maybe we should think about a natural water source.
Yeah.
Maybe we should think about learning how to hunt, learning how to fish, learning how to be self-sufficient. This kind of stuff. If things get bad, like if what's happening in Indiana were to be widespread and happen across the entire United States,
Yeah.
I think people would freak out. They want to know what to do. It's kind of like, okay, no one's coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. And it would be anarchy. It would be insane. I really don't know exactly what that would look like in the US.
Yeah, I mean, if the power goes out, sooner or later your phone is going to go out, your access to the internet is going to go out. You can't go hit up Chat GBT like, how do I get out of this situation? People are not going to know where you're at or how to get to you. So now you better have the knowledge, you better have the connections and the network to get things done. And people think it's far fetched, but we're in the war with Iran. Let's just say they, use some AI agents to start disrupting our critical system. As opposed to in Minnesota, they said the water, the water facilities, they were attacked. There was like a cyber attack against those.
Oh,
So
wow.
if that happens on a nationwide scale, what are you going to do?
Right. So if let's say a country like Iran or Afghanistan or Pakistan, somewhere over that way, they decide, okay, we're going to poison the American water sources. We're going to poison them one by one. We're going to go from the biggest ones in New York and California and just work our way inward. I'm not really sure what we would do at that point, because if the water's no good, what do you do? I mean, yeah, I guess you could have bottled water, but that's a finite resource. You're not going to have unlimited bottles of water at your disposal.
I think you need to have a means of filtering water, and they have these things called like Berkey water filters, like these drums with these filters, and you put water in it, and I think let's just say they do attack the water supply. They're not going to be able to attack every single one. They're not going to be able to poison these natural rivers and stuff, because they're not going to be everywhere in the country simultaneously doing that. So, you're next to a untouched river, untouched lake. You have this, these water filters. And then you boil the water as well. At least you have some means of potentially preserving yourself.
Yeah, no, I think we're in pretty scary times, because I do feel like this thing that's happening in Indiana, that's just a trial run for what we could be looking. Let's say Iran attacks, some kind of like major electrical grid in the US, and
Yeah.
power goes out for the whole eastern seaboard, the whole tri-state area, New York, Jersey, Connecticut. They just hit one of these main sources, and then boom, all the power goes out. And now you got, I don't know, things could get really bad really fast in this country. It wouldn't take that much. Look at Hurricane Katrina. These people had no way out. They were just trying to survive, and they did what they had to do to survive. And eventually they got saved, but there's people that died in the process. So it's kind of crazy.
So we're talking about summer, winter's around the corner, especially for y'all. I know it gets like crazy cold out there. So like
Yeah, New
how would you
York gets
prepare?
really cold.
How would you prepare for winter?
I would just make sure I got, extra blankets in my car if I ever needed to, like, stay warm and get the safety. At least I have my car. I have family in Queens. I'm in Long Island, so Queens is it's about 2 hours from me. So I got my aunt out there. She lives in Rockaway Beach, right on the boardwalk. Really nice area. So if anything ever happened in this area in Long Island, I'd probably jump out to Queens and see if they have all their resources still. Or I got family in Jersey now, over towards the Jersey Shore. So I mean, it's a good 4 or 5 hour drive, but if things got bad enough, okay, at least I do have family in another state where potentially maybe, maybe the power gets taken out in New York, but the power's still on in Jersey. Okay, then I'll just go and visit my mom and stay with her until the situation is remedied back at home.
Yeah, like normally we talk about like success and these strategies on how to improve your career, but like just with what we're seeing with the nation, just being prepared, being aware of this is every bit as important because I would love to say, oh yeah, things they're about to take a bright turn, but I don't see that. Like I don't see things just flip into the
Like
positive.
magically, yeah,
Yeah,
magically turning good. Oh, the economy's doing great. And, little Billy, he just graduated from college with a computer science degree. He's going to get hired right away. But like now, no, it's like little Billy who just graduated NYU with a computer science degree. He's got nowhere to go because you got people out of work with 5, 10, sometimes 15, 20 years of experience
yeah,
in IT, in software development, and web development. So you really think someone's going to say, oh, okay, little Jimmy, you did one internship while you were in school. You have a bachelor's degree, a 4-year degree in computer science. I'm going to give you your first opportunity. No, I mean, just go on LinkedIn. You'll see all these people that are full stack developers, front end developers. A lot of them are out of work because companies are using stuff like Claude Code, Copilot. They're using these AI agents to replace people in droves, really, in mass. So, people kind of do have to wake up in this country and realize
yeah,
what's happening. If what could just happen in Indiana could happen in the US, it could happen anywhere. It could
yeah,
happen anywhere in the US. So these type of events should be sort of eye-opening for people to say, okay, maybe I should think about what happens if the power goes out. Am I going to go visit my family in another state? Am I going to link up with people who know how to hunt and just get buddy buddy with them? I think a lot of stuff does come down to networking.
yeah, exactly. You got to use the skills that we were telling you about, but in a different way, like something that might save your life. Learning to reach out to people, work together, and combine your skills. We just been dependent on the system for too long, and now that the system is failing, now the system's showing you, hey, I don't care about your welfare. You're gonna have to handle things by yourself. Now you're gonna have to get it on your own. We're gonna have to go back to more primitive times where you're a hunter and gatherer. You eat what you hunt.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Kev. What do you think about this whole concept of UBI, Universal Basic Income, that
That's just
Zuckerberg and Sam Altman have talked about?
Yeah, I think that's just global welfare, and this is like it's welfare. Oh, hey, I'm gonna give you a little bit of money, and then you do what I tell you. If you don't, I'll cut you off. Like, why are all these companies gonna give us so-called high income if they don't want to pay us to work, but they're gonna give us money to do nothing? Like that doesn't make any sense. So, what do you think? You think they're actually gonna give you a quote unquote high income?
I don't think so.
Exactly, like
I don't see it. Yeah.
yeah, that's like, hey, Brian, I'll pay you, $100 to cut my yard. Okay, but I'm supposed to just like give you money for doing absolute nothing when I don't want to pay you 100 to cut my yard. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, our company's
Yeah.
gonna give up 80% of their profits to pay for this basic, universal basic income? I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't see that either. But, like these tech giants like Zuckerberg and Sam Altman, they're basically saying, "Hey, this is inevitable. The AI is going to learn how to do every single human task and take all the human jobs, and then and then we're going to have to usher in this universal basic income. I think it's possible, but I could also see it collapsing the country, because it's kind of like socialism, and
Yes, that on steroids.
socialism on steroids. So, I'm not saying capitalism is the end all be all, but I think capitalism is better than socialism, or is certainly better than communism.
I
If
mean,
we just look around the world, we can see in China what a communist government looks like. Russia, communist government.
I mean, if they got all this money to give out UBI, where's my check? I don't see no like free money coming into my bank account now.
I haven't
not get
seen,
them
yeah,
now?
I haven't seen exactly. Yeah, times are tough already. Let me get some free cash now.
Yeah, like, well, man, have the robots build me a free house. Go pick some free strawberries and drop it via my front door via a drone. Like, where's that at? Like,
Yeah,
these tech bros, they love lying to you, and until like they're just gonna get in control, and then now
they're
you're gonna
gonna
put it on.
say they're gonna sit there and say whatever they need to say
Yeah,
to keep their profits high, to keep money coming in, to keep more and more subscribers to Chat GPT. That's all they care about, the numbers. They don't actually care about. I mean, people have said that the open AI guy, Sam, some people have speculated, is he really a good guy, or is he kind of evil? Does he want to replace everyone with robots? What's the full deal with that?
yeah. I don't like really want to speculate on people's characters, but just in general, from what I've seen, is they're gonna lie to you. They're gonna, they told us how AI, we're not gonna use this for military purposes. We're just gonna use this for good. Now all of a sudden you see like dogs patrolling,
With
protecting.
machine guns on
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, I thought we weren't supposed to do this, but they're doing it. Oh, we're not collecting your data. Then you find they've been collecting for the
them.
last 50 years.
They've been collecting data since we had cell phones.
Exactly. So it's just like being able to see through the game, and you see where it's leading. It's like leading the ultimate control. Just like all the cars in 2027, they're gonna have the cameras in there to see your face. And I guess they say, oh, if you're drunk, then the car's not gonna start.
I mean,
That's
that's not really a bad thing, but I can see how the control of it all would lead to bad stuff happening.
Yeah, because they always slip in the monitoring under like, oh, we're protecting you. Like,
This is for your own good,
yeah, they can listen in on every conversation you have. They can see you
which
at
they
all
do,
times.
which
Yeah,
they do. I mean, what's
track you
his
at all
name?
times.
Snowden. Remember Edward Snowden? He
Yeah,
broke that whole NSA story and basically said, okay, look, these companies, the government, they're listening to your phone calls, they're reading your text messages, T-Mobile, Verizon, whoever, whatever the company is, they're reading the text, they're listening to your voicemails, everything. So if that was, what was that, 10, 15 years ago now, maybe, if it was happening then, you better believe it's happening now.
yeah, that's what's happening before we had the AI hit the mainstream. So this was like primitive technology. Supposedly, they know all the stuff we have now. They've been had it. They're just rolling it out. But it's all for surveillance and control. Like, this is just pretty much what we've been talking about the whole time. Like, monitor everything you do, use AI to filter through, and okay, he's a dissident. This guy, he's against us, so we're gonna take him out. Like,
Yeah.
you get in your electric car, you're marked as a dissident, you're driving, and then magically appears off into a tree or something.
Yeah. I mean, and there's been stories in the news. I remember back when I was living in LA, there was this whole story where this guy's car, he was going something like 100 miles per hour, a couple blocks away from where I live near Hollywood, and he smashed into this tree. And there was speculation that someone was remote controlling this guy's car.
Yep.
And because he said to his neighbor, he's like, hey, people are watching me, people are tampering with my vehicle. and the neighbor just thought the guy was getting paranoid, kind of crazy. And then I forget the guy's name. This happened in LA years ago, but I remember it because I remember driving down that it's on Highland Ave in Hollywood, Hancock Park area, and there were people putting up flowers and you know letters and all kind of like a whole memorial for this guy that died. So it does happen. It can happen. It's just kind of kept out of the public's eye.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, just think about like okay, I bought a Camaro in 2018. I can get on the app, hit a button, the engine starts up. I can track wherever my car is going. This is like years ago, and my car is not electric. With electric cars, you have Waymo. Like nobody's driving it; it's driving itself. So at any point, that lets you know somebody can take control of that car and override your inputs and do whatever they want with it. There was a story about some teens in the Waymo, like I guess they were drunk.
Oh, I heard about that.
The Waymo locked them in and drove them to the police station.
It went to the police station, right?
Yeah. So yeah, like okay.
Yeah, it's like, do you really trust getting in a driverless car when you don't know, you don't know what's going to happen? A camera could break in the vehicle, and now all of a sudden it has no eyes, and it's just putting the gas down, and now the car's going 90, 100 miles per hour, and a red light's coming, and the camera's busted, so it can't see anything, and then boom, it crashes, and then takes the people out, and then the company probably gets sued, but they'll just try to brush it off like, oh, these things happen from time to time.
Yeah.
We're doing our diagnostic work on the car. We're trying to get to the bottom of what happened. But, meanwhile, little Billy and little Susie are gone now because they got into a Waymo, and they're just trying to go to the mall, and this thing malfunctioned and crashed.
Yeah,
So,
like
would you get into one of these vehicles, these Waymos?
no, because people like we're taking away the last source of fallback income that people have. Like, why would I want to give more money to the tech companies and not to somebody struggling driving Uber to try to pay their bills? Like,
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that in the past, how, for me, when I had no work, I was delivering Chinese food.
exactly.
You were out of work for a little bit. You're doing Uber Eats. Some people just do the regular Uber. And I got a buddy who does deliveries and Uber Premier because he has a Tesla, so he's able to get the Premier kind of like higher paying jobs. But even him, like, he's got family in Italy. He wants to get out of here. He wants to leave the U.S., but it all comes down to money. If you can't afford that plane ticket, if you can't afford to live in that country once you get there, what are you going to do? So,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what he's going to, he's trying to plan, he's trying to make moves, but it's tough. It's tough when you don't have a cushy 150K a year job. Life is not so easy. Like we're talking about, you got people working full time and they're still living in their car at a Walmart because they're only making maybe 40,000 a year, 50,000 a year. And that's pretty much the price of rent for a one bedroom in a lot of bigger cities. So a lot of people are going to have to move back in with family. I know a lot of people don't, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to think about, oh, I moved out when I was 22 and I'm independent. And it's like, no, things are really bad right now. If you have living family, I would take advantage of that because I think, we're on a downward slope. Things are going to get worse and worse from here. And yeah, I was telling my buddy, I'm like, if I have family in Italy, if I have family somewhere in Europe, Germany, whatever, I'd be gone yesterday. I'd be out of here so fast and just get over there, start making a life for myself. Even in Italy, they got something called siesta. All the shops close for 2 or 3 hours at lunchtime, and everyone goes home and eats with their families. So I don't know if regular Italy's still like that, but my buddy has family in Sicily, and he said in Sicily they still do that. So it's very, compared to American work, 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 it's a very different lifestyle. So if I ever get the opportunity to relocate out of this country, you better believe I'm going to take that opportunity for sure.
Yeah, exactly. For my closing thought, like if you look at history, all great empires they eventually wane, they eventually go into decline, and sometimes they never recover. So just to think that just because we were up, we lived through the prime, that means that we're always going to be like that. No, it doesn't. Like you look at the fundamentals of how our society is, it's not looking that good. So got to make some plans. Me trusting in Jesus, trying to think ahead, and doing what I got to do, and just let the cards fall where they may. What were your closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, I guess. I like to ask this question to a lot of our guests that come on the show. If you could go back in time and a time machine and meet yourself when you're just entering high school, 14, 15 years old, what would be the main advice you would give to yourself? Well, the main advice I would say, okay, go all in on Bitcoin. It's gonna it's gonna hit 100. It's gonna do really well one day. People are gonna doubt it, but buy a ton of Bitcoin. That'd be the primary advice. And the other advice I would just say, look, make sure you're saving, make sure you're accumulating silver, gold, stuff that's tangible, stuff that's physical, because once the dollar is worthless, which it's looking like it might end up being worthless, like some of these other third world countries where there's just money sitting in the sewer because that's how worthless it's become. So I feel like, I'm not in the best financial situation presently, but if I were, I would have a ton of gold. That's for sure.
Yep. So, hey, man, hopefully, we get whisked
Hopefully
away
we're
in the
wrong,
rapture.
right? Hopefully
Hopefully,
we're wrong about all this.
hopefully we get whisked away in the rapture. But if we're here, well, you have to be prepared to survive. Thanks everybody for tuning in. The Friday night apocalypse. Hopefully we have some more cheerful stuff coming up for you. But we gotta get this out.
Thanks, guys.
Until next time.
We'll have new guests on next week.